So I'm just doing a quick bear update video. I had a couple people commenting on how the tan is holding up on the bear. After I read the comments, I ran into the house and I'm like, okay, well, let's just grab the bear, throw it on the table, see how it's doing. So here's the bear. Might be a little bit dusty, but check out that. Right up to my knuckles. This is a beautiful, beautiful bear. It's not very big, by no means, okay? But man, this is a beautiful spring bear. Like, there was no blemishes. He never got in a fight. Well, he's smaller, right? He's probably smart enough to get the hell out of Dodge, right? So let's check out the hide itself. Okay. So everything seems good. There's no insect damage, humidity issues, and right in there as well. Really, really nice. Okay? Because there's space, okay? And also what's in my basement. Generally basements are pretty humid in general, but this is right by the dehumidifier. And we like to keep it at least 40. Okay. So that looks good. Hair itself, let's have a look. Any slippage, right? Because that's the ultimate test, right? So I'll grab onto it and give it a pull. I'm yanking pretty good. Like, I haven't even done this test yet, just for my own information, because I've never had any issues. No insects are in the basement itself. And ears, let's pop these ears out. All right, see if you can see down inside, if this hair will let me. And I have no issues at all, right? It's turned all the way to the tip, okay? Now, I'm gonna do another video here. I got a really small bear. It was my first bear with a bow. It was with Cody Draper. And it had a beautiful coat as well, but very, very small. But just hammered it at 30 yards. It's in the freezer right now. I gotta pull it out in thought. What I wanna do is take you guys through the process and how I deboned, okay, all the paws. And that is a creepy extraction once you have all the paws out, all right, because you cut it at the joint and you have this paw, which is unusually human-like. So I want to take you through the whole process of that and how I do it, and I'm sure there's other people who have better ways, but once you get the hang of it and you have kind of a razor blade, like one of those Havalon knives, take the razor blade, and you know, the first one's going to take you a while, okay? But then all the rest just kind of, you can fly right through it after that, right? So we'll take you through that, and you know, turning the lips, nose, and this nose is all buggered now. I took no care in it, in the respect of keeping it, like painting it or keeping it in shape, doing the ears, okay? So if you don't have your lips and nose and eyes pretty much the same thickness as the rest of the bear, okay, and you have excess flesh here and fat, this won't be pickling, okay, at the same rate as the rest of the bear. So you may run into the situation where this could be going bad, okay, and then all of a sudden maybe little maggots or flies or a variety of things could now start eating around these areas and spoiling your hide, okay? So if you didn't turn these, what I mean by turning is you're actually flipping these inside out, because this whole head is flipped first side in, flesh side out when you're turning these ears out, Okay. Now, if you're not turning these, because normally in a coyote, you'd be taking this whole cartilage out, right? So you take your pliers and rip it out, exposing this side, the bottom side, okay? But with a bear, you don't want that, right? Because you want to make sure these ears are erect. Now, for instance, if you're actually taking a coyote and having a coyote rug, you'd be turning it just like this. But you got to make sure there's a hole there so the air can dry everything out so it doesn't spoil on you, okay? So, but you got to make sure when you're turning these, now it's folded inside out, okay? So flesh side out, fur side in. You got to turn it all along here to the tip. So if you get lazy, for instance, and you only turn it halfway, you could run into the situation where now this tip could go bad and get rotted. All right? And what will happen now is all this hair on the tip of your ears, can you imagine? All this hair would be gone. Because now it got rancid. Basically, this whole head would be ruined if all of a sudden this went bad. So you got to make sure that you get it all the way to the tip. And we'll go through that and how I did it. It's not too bad. It's just a lot of labor, right? But it's a labor of love, right? You go to all this effort to harvest this animal. You might as well do it. It's due justice, okay? But I'm sure a lot of people, I've had various comments that it's like sacrilege almost of what I'm doing to this guy, the pickling, tan. But you know what? Everything's holding, I think that the key factor is making sure that you're fleshing it so there's no fat remaining, okay? And keeping it at a humidity level that is not 80%, 90%. Even in Saskatchewan here, it gets high in humidity at certain times a year. I want to keep this bear around 40% humidity. 40, 50, and don't really exceed that, right? Because now you're introducing an environment that could have insects, right? Bacteria possibly growing. So as long as your humidity level is relatively low, you're going to have a room with your furs, your antlers, your mounts. You might as well take care of the humidity levels. Don't have like a whole bunch of moss or insects flying around. This will be fine. You know what? People in the day, they tanned these animals in a very basic means, okay? Now, when I wanted to originally start tanning, I looked online and they had these kits and all these chemicals and all these acid baths and whatever else, which are fine and probably a way better tan than this. Sure. Okay, whatever. But those tans are useless if you don't have any hide preparation that's properly done. Okay? If you're not properly turning the eyes, ears, nose, lips, paws, and not fleshing it thoroughly, those tans don't matter, But they're chemicals that make you dependent, okay, on that company that sells them, okay? I don't want that. I want to be able to do it with household chemicals like vinegar. I'm sure vinegar is going to be a lot easier to find than all these chemicals online, okay? So vinegar, salt, oils, all natural products that I can find easily. And that's what I wanted to try, right? I could have failed miserably. Maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, maybe I will fail miserably. I don't think it'll be because of the tan that I did, because this is done. This hide is done. It is dry. It is tanned. It may not be fancy, okay, like the tanneries, but it's done. What's going to maybe ruin this guy now if he gets wet. Okay? I don't dry him out properly. I keep him in maybe a room that's 80% humidity for 8 months, a year. Maybe some moths enter the room, start laying eggs on him, perhaps. That's what's going to be wrong with this guy. Okay, so he's good. He's not going anywhere. And you know what? This bear cost me probably 20 bucks to tan. Really though. You know? And I'm not saying I'm better than a tannery. Absolutely not. There's holes, okay? You know, my fleshing sucked, but I wasn't going to get too crazy about it. You know? There's the holes that need to be repaired, but I didn't feel that it necessarily needed for me to do a lot of sewing, you know? Because eventually down the road, if I, stop procrastinating, I'll put a rug on them, put them on the wall, or the velvet or whatever else, the backing, and do that. But this guy is awesome. Like, the hair is just amazing, and it's not slipping. So, to those naysayers, you have a right to your opinion. And their chemical kits that cost you 120 bucks or whatever else, sure, you're probably better than me. But you know what? For a bag of salt or whatever, not even a bag, half a bag of salt, $3 or $4. Vinegar, everything included, probably 20 bucks to do this dude. Now that's what I'm talking about. I don't know why so many people have to complicate everything, Keep it simple, What happens when all of a sudden the shit hits the fan, you got to make a bear coat? You're not going to have those tanning solutions. Well, then you're going to be screwed, right? Chances are maybe if the shit hits the fan, I won't have vinegar and salt. So now I'm going to have to be really creative. You know what? Probably don't even need it. Look at this. You flush it down, you dry it out, put it over some smoke, you brain tan it, Bob's your uncle. The First Nations people, they did it for thousands of years, I'm sure. So guess what? They didn't have muriatic acid or diluted versions of it. So guess what? Let's just get it done. Find a natural way. And I won't have to breathe all these crazy chemicals and be dependent on somebody else. So here you go. Works great. Bob's your uncle.